Charles, and this is part 7 of my retrospective review of Jennifer Blood, Bloodlines, the 2022 series from Dynamite Comics. In my reviews, I try to provide the most accurate information, but I'm human and I'm not perfect. And so in my last video, I made a slight mistake, which might confuse you a little bit when you go to buy these trade paperbacks at your store. The first part of this series was called Bloodlines. That's issue 1 through 5. This, however, issue 6, which I mistakenly identified as part of the Bloodlines series, that was actually the beginning of Blood Debt. Blood Debt. And this is chapter 2. So chapter 1 of Blood Debt was number 6 of that Bloodlines series. So you know what to look for. And it makes sense because the first part of this was Alice Fellows under the moniker of her mother's alter ego, Jennifer Blood, completing her mother's list, completing her late mother's vendetta, if you will. And this right here, Blood Debt, is her really stepping out as her own character, her own type of vigilante. And it started off with the aftermath of Bloodlines, where she was in an underground hospital for criminals, and somebody found out she was there. They sent a hit squad after her, but at the same time, she was sharing a room with an ex-cartel hitman dying of cancer. And at the same time, a death squad was coming for her, one was sent for him. And in the melee, she ended up killing both death squad and the worst criminals that were there, except for this old cartel hitman. And he saw something in her that he could use, that anger, that aggression, but it really had nowhere to point. It had nowhere to go. And him dying wanted to make up for his past as a hitman, which is why it's called Blood Debt. And so he enlisted her to help him take vengeance on the people that he worked for. And her reward was to get to take out more criminals. And the only thing he asked is once they finish his list, that she kills him. And the one thing I do like about this character, Jennifer Blood here, this iteration of Jennifer Blood, is that she holds no delusions of being a hero, or even an anti-hero. A very, very self-aware character. Let me see here. Yeah, they're going over. This is the part where they're going after their first target together. And she's showing them how she's a silly putty to lift fingerprints, and they're trying to get into this phone that she stole. And the hitman asked her, where do you learn all this? Where do you learn how to do that? And she replies, YouTube. And, he says, who? Still, you're whip smart, girl. How you could be anything you want to be? And she replies, this is true. And like any number of high-functioning sociopaths, what I want to be is a serial killer. And so, like I said, it's refreshing because she always knows delusions of being a good guy. And even with her mother, to call her a vigilante or anti-hero, I think does a disservice to the term, because she is a bad guy going after other bad guys. And especially this iteration, Alice Fellows, under the moniker of Jennifer Blood, is very uncaring and matter-of-fact with how she does things. With her innocent victims are just a casualty of war. And she is, sloppy to a point of, not really being a precision tool. But just whatever is in the way gets dealt with. And so with this mission, they're going after their first target here, and you meet actually at this fairground and this party scene, and you find out that it's this general who's a drug dealer. It's his daughter's quinceañera, I believe. and they're plotting what's going on. And here you get to see more of her blunt instrument attitude of, where he's planning on taking out this gathering of criminals at this quinceanera, and she brings a grenade launcher to his shock and horror. And so you get, this relationship. I at first I described it as kind of a odd couple relationship, but I think it's kind of developing more in a mentor-mentee relationship of where, this guy, he has been where Alice is headed in her life. And then in kind of a sick way, he's trying to show her the pitfalls of that lifestyle and the mental toll that it can take. And so he's trying to make amends not just for the lives that he's taken, but maybe he could sharpen this blunt tool so that she's not quite as dangerous. And also there's, a little bit of levity in this situation. At one point, she quips, "Now I understand why the Punisher always worked alone." And he says, "Who's the Punisher?" And he gets a chuckle out of that, like, of course he doesn't know who the Punisher is. And another funny, I laughed out loud at this part when they are trying to break into the phone of the general here, and not only are they breaking in, but they want to return it to him with a bug. And so, they're, the general is trying to track his phone. He sends one of his henchmen out to look for it. They're freaking out because it's taking forever. And he says, let's see, they're about to be discovered by the henchman using the Find My Phone app. And the hitman goes for his gun, and she says, "Don't put it away. Be cool." And he says, "Well, tell that thing to hurry up." And then she responds, "Computer, hurry up. Happy, dumbass?" And so there, that dynamic of, him not quite understanding technology and her being kind of a sarcastic, glib individual, created that moment of levity in this dark action piece. And here we cut back to the present tense. They're at the quinceanera. She has all of the targets in one place, and she's about to take them all out with the grenade launcher. But the daughter is in the midst of that group, and Alice is ready to just end them all and consider the daughter collateral damage. And the hitman is trying to dissuade her, but she will not be moved. And so at the last minute, he grabs the barrel of the grenade launcher, throwing off her shot, saving the daughter, yet still leaving these drug lords alive. And so they get into a physical altercation on the perch where they were, and they happen to get their stuff together just enough to escape the henchmen. And it ends with them kind of coming to an understanding, and her finally getting what he's trying to teach her about empathy and doing the job with a bit of a moral compass, which is something that you see in the next series that they put out with Alice Fellows as Jennifer Blood Battle Diary, to where she is a lot more empathetic and precision, and really a lot smarter criminal than she was at the very beginning of Bloodlines, where I think Bloodlines was definitely the first outing of Alice Fellows as this character. And so you see a lot of recklessness and immaturity and risk-taking in Bloodlines that you don't see in Battle Diary, the series after this. This was a very fun issue. This is issue number 7 of that 2022 series. And the cover is brilliant. It's a cosplay cover featuring Rachel Holland, otherwise known on social media as Face by Archie. I have seen her work in all over Dynamite Comics from, I think I've seen her as, definitely seen her as Red Sonja, done a lot of Vampirella covers, may have done a Deja Thor's cover, I'm not sure, but she does a lot of Vampirella covers. And so that is Rachel Holland, aka Face by Archie, on YouTube. And you can get this as part of the Jennifer Blood Debt series, and we got 3 more issues to go. I've read it before. I'm reading it again, and I will likely read it again. It's one of my favorite characters. One of the first characters I got into as a collector, just off of just trying something out. I saw the cover, the original cover that you can see back there in my background. That's one you can see. I'm a big fan. Right there between Scorch and Red Sonja Conan is my Jennifer Blood trade paperback, and the cover the first draw me to the character. And it's a very, if you're into action and espionage, the Jennifer Blood series as a whole is genius. It's gruesome. It has a lot of the same characteristics of The Boys. I think mainly because it was initially written by Garth Ennis, the creator of The Boys. And the first Jennifer Blood was featured Jessica Bluth, who was the daughter of mobsters, faked her own death after her family was killed by other mobsters, and decided to become a vigilante by night and a housewife and mother by daytime. And how that all kind of blew up in her face, and she ended up dying in prison. And so that's where that story went, and this is the new iteration. Stay tuned for part 8 of Jennifer Blood. That's going to be chapter 3 of the Blood Debt series. Get it at your local comic stores, on Amazon, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, keep reading books. I'm out.